great to have you back at the Wellbeing Veg Patch, your home of integrated well-being from the ground up. Let's get our hands dirty and talk about potato onions. Are they potato? Are they an onion? Who knows? We're going to break it all down and show you the magic of a potato onion. All the action's going to happen here in Veg Temple 6, but we've also got Veg Temple 8 to have a look at. So in here, tucked amongst the hollyhock, gorgeous double pink hollyhock, and I cannot wait for this to come into bloom, and the green dragon broccoli, which are doing fabulously in this bed, we have the magical potato onion. So you'll notice there's a theme, a plant label, and then a little bit of some orange stuff sticking out of the ground. If we look in a bit closer, we'll start to see that this is a potato onion. And this is just the neck of the onion popping out of the ground. You don't want to plant your potato onions deep, and you'll see if I dig down here, it's only just in that soil, not very deep at all. And the mulch isn't tucked as firmly around it as you might do with other plants, because the mulch can rot the neck of your potato onion. And we've got some more over this way as well. So we'll duck in over here into Veg Temple 8, where we've got some rogue cauliflowers. These are going to the compost crew. And tucked in just underneath these rogue cauliflowers are the potato onions. And you can see these ones have been in the ground for a little bit longer, a little over maybe 6 weeks, and they've really started to come into their own. But why all the fuss about a potato onion? Why not just grow a regular onion? It's because these guys are a clumping onion. For every onion that you plant in the ground, you're going to get somewhere between 8 to 12 in your harvest. So that's not a bad yield at all. They're really quite easy to look after, and they require very little care and attention. Once they're in the ground, they just do their thing, and around about Christmas time, we'll be getting a harvest out of these. Merry Christmas to us. But just because they're a great crop and we're going to get some at Christmas time, doesn't mean we're going to eat them. This year's harvest will all be put back into the garden, and we'll be aiming to produce an entire veg temple of potato onions for next season. So fingers crossed it all goes to plan. You want to plant your potato onions around about early fall or autumn, depending on where you live in the world. But for us here in this climate, so we're on the east coast of Australia, 2 hours north of Sydney, in quite a warm climate, and so for us here, it's no problem to plant them all the way from fall or autumn right through to the beginning of springtime. But if you're in a cooler climate and you don't have well draining soils, you may want to plant them early in the autumn or the fall, so that your plants have got good soil temperatures to keep them slightly drier so they don't rot. Other things to factor is that they have access to good sunlight and well-drained soils. You want to plant them about 4 to 6 inches apart. Don't want to crowd them, because you want them to produce lots of those beautiful bulby onions. But one of the biggest factors to consider is that you plant the bulb high in the ground, especially if you have poor draining soil. You want to see the neck of that bulb popping out of the soil. The most important thing though, if you're going to plant your potato onions, is that they have excellent drainage. And that's why we can get away with it here, because the garden beds are raised and the beds drain particularly well. Don't let them get waterlogged. They don't love to be overly wet. Fertilize them once a month with a complete fertilizer, and you'll have a delicious bounty in no time. When you first plant your potato onion, you don't want the mulch sitting up around the neck of the onion too thickly. You can mulch it later on. But once the greens have started to come up and they're moving along well, you can start to add a little more mulch around the base of your onions. Harvesting couldn't be easier. You simply slide your hands down into your soil and lift the bulbs out of the ground. You can use a fork if you prefer, but this is going to run the risk of stabbing your onions. But when do you harvest? How will you know when to harvest? Simple. When the heads of your onions, the green parts, start to die back and go brown. Once they start to do that and they've browned right off, you're ready to harvest your potato onions. Thanks so much for joining me today. Have a beautiful day. Shine on. What are we going to do next? Love that.